the signal beyond the veil, why you're not going crazy, you're being called. Let me tell you something that will sound like a myth until it happens to you. There comes a moment in your life that doesn't feel like a moment at all. It feels like a rupture, a glitch in your timeline, a crack in the simulation. One day you wake up and nothing looks the same. The world is still spinning, but your soul is no longer in sync with it. You feel like you're walking through fog, but your senses are sharp. You feel alone, but also watched. You feel fear, but not the kind that pushes you away. The kind that pulls you deeper. That's your first sign.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
You're not breaking down. You're being broken open. The portal is real, and if you're here, something inside you already knows it started. You've crossed a threshold, and the door behind you is gone. This isn't just a video. This is a mirror, and if your energy is vibrating with this message, you're not just a spiritual person. You're a dark chosen one, and a very rare portal has just opened for you. But let me warn you, this isn't the light path. This isn't about love and light, floating in bliss, or manifesting comfort. This is the other path, the path of shadow, the path of truth, the path where the universe doesn't whisper, it drags you through fire until you remember your own. The dark chosen ones are not here to be healed. We are here to heal through confrontation, to unveil what others deny, to stand in places others flee from. That's why the portal doesn't open for everyone. It only opens for those who survived enough darkness to become it without being devoured by it. And the truth is, most people run from this awakening because the first sign looks like madness. You start to feel disconnected from your name, your past, even your body. You look in the mirror and see someone you barely recognize. You hear a voice, but it's not external. It's internal, ancient, commanding. It doesn't speak in words, it speaks in knowing. It tells you to cut ties, to walk away, and to burn bridges that no longer lead anywhere. And when you resist, your life starts falling apart, not out of cruelty, out of design. Because the first sign that your portal has opened is this: your old life can no longer hold your new frequency. And so it crumbles. Relationships dissolve, careers collapse, beliefs disintegrate. Your identity is peeled like skin. And you're tempted to think, I'm cursed, I'm lost, I'm broken. But what if I told you this is your real initiation? What if I told you the universe doesn't destroy what's real, it only burns illusions? Ask yourself, what if every loss in your life wasn't punishment but permission? Sign 2 comes in the form of what I call the sacred rage. You begin to feel everything more intensely. Injustice, hypocrisy, manipulation. You can no longer tolerate what you once ignored. But this isn't just anger, it's clarity. You're not bitter, you're becoming precise. Your soul is no longer willing to play small or be polite when truth is on the line. And suddenly you realize you weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be a disruptor of illusions. That rage, that's your frequency rising. It's the fire you'll use to burn down old timelines. The third sign is silence, not outer silence, inner. You stop resonating with the noise, the content, the teachings that once fed you. You stop searching for answers outside yourself. Not because you've given up, but because you've remembered. Something ancient reawakens. You start knowing things you were never taught. You speak truth that shocks even you. You no longer learn, you reclaim. That's ancestral memory. That's spiritual DNA activating. That's not a download. That's a return. But let me tell you a secret. The moment this portal opens, you'll be tested. Not by the light, by the shadow. Because the dark doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about your integrity. Can you hold power without needing to dominate? Can you hold truth without using it to manipulate? Can you walk alone without becoming bitter? This is the fourth sign. You attract chaos not because you're cursed, but because your energy exposes everything false around you. You don't create conflict, you reveal it. And when you do, people will project. They'll call you toxic, intense, unstable. But don't flinch. That's how you know you've become a mirror. The fifth sign is even stranger. You begin to see through time, through people, through situations. You know who's lying. You know what's about to end. You feel the energy of a room before you enter it. This isn't paranoia. This is perception. You've shifted into quantum awareness. You're no longer living in linear time. You're tracking patterns, timelines, probabilities. And it's overwhelming at first. You might think you're losing your mind, but you're not. You're remembering your multidimensional self. And here's where it gets even more real. The sixth sign. You begin to lose fear of death. Not because you want to die, but because you've already died. Emotionally, spiritually, energetically. You faced the abyss, and now you see death as a threshold, not an ending. You start working with ancestors. You speak to energies others can't perceive. You feel the veil thinning. You dream vividly. You see symbols. You feel the underworld, and instead of running, you bow. That's the mark of a dark chosen one. We don't just survive the underworld, we build temples in it. And the seventh sign? This one is the most dangerous and the most divine. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You stop needing anyone to recognize your power, because you now embody it. You walk differently. You speak from the marrow. You move like someone who no longer begs to be chosen because you've chosen yourself. And when that happens, reality bends around you, not because you're controlling it, but because you're co-creating it in real time. So let me ask you the deepest question of all. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending you weren't powerful? Because that's what the dark portal is asking you now. Not to act, not to perform, but to remember. You didn't come here to be liked. You came here to disrupt the sleep of the world. You didn't come here to be soft. You came here to be surgical. You didn't come here to fit in. You came here to fracture illusions so deeply that even your silence becomes a weapon of remembrance. This is your moment. Your portal is open. And in the next part, we'll go even deeper into what it means to embody the dark chosen frequency in your daily life. Not as an idea, but as a sacred, unstoppable way of being. The black flame within, how to harness dark chosen energy without losing your soul. Now that you know the signs, now that you've felt the rupture, the question becomes, what do you do with this power? Because the portal doesn't just open and leave you glowing in bliss. It opens and begins to restructure you. It demands embodiment, not performance. It tests your nervous system. It unearths everything fragile, fake, and unhealed, not to punish you, but to fortify you. Because the black flame within you is not a metaphor. It's a frequency. A state of consciousness that burns away false light, false love, false self. And once it ignites, you can't go back. So how do we harness this power without being consumed by it? How do we channel the force of shadow without becoming lost in the very darkness we're here to transmute? It starts with something we've been taught to fear: intensity. You see, dark chosen energy is not palatable. It's not gentle. It doesn't care about being polite. It doesn't conform to spiritual correctness. It is raw truth in motion. It will burn through a room. It will expose manipulation with a glance. It will collapse timelines with a single no. And because of that, you've likely been told your energy is too much, that you're intimidating, that you're unstable. But what if I told you that's your gift? You're not too much. You're accurate. You're calibrated for truth in a world addicted to illusion. And the reason others recoil is not because you're wrong. It's because your frequency makes their mask twitch. That's why your presence alone can cause discomfort. You're not provoking. You're mirroring, and mirrors don't lie. They reflect. But here's the danger. Unrefined, dark, chosen energy becomes destruction without direction. That's why harnessing this power requires discipline, not suppression. Refinement. You don't shut down your rage. You learn how to aim it. You don't silence your knowing. You train it to speak when it matters most. You don't perform your darkness to shock others. You live it in full integrity so that others can feel what truth actually sounds like. Let me ask you something that will stop your breath. What if your darkness isn't the enemy, but the part of you that's been holding the blueprint for your evolution all along? Because that's what the black flame is. It's the sacred intelligence of your shadow. The part of you that endured trauma, betrayal, abandonment, and instead of becoming bitter, became precise. It's the part of you that learned not just how to survive the dark, but how to see in it. And now that the flame is awake, you must become its guardian. This means mastering your energy, not just spiritually, but somatically. You must learn to hold your own frequency without collapse. This isn't about feeling good. It's about becoming unshakable. When the black flame is active, your nervous system becomes a battlefield. Old traumas surface. Emotional flashbacks strike. Your body begins to purge stored pain. And if you don't anchor yourself, you'll think you're breaking down. But you're not. You're clearing bandwidth. Here's what I need you to understand. The more power you access, the more capacity you must build to hold it. This is why stillness is essential. Not as an escape, but as a recalibration. You must sit with the fire without flinching. You must learn the difference between reaction and response, between impulse and instruction, between emotion and truth. Because your power is sacred, but without inner structure, it becomes chaos. So how do you build that structure? You create rituals that ground you in your sovereignty. You protect your mornings like sacred territory. You command your field before you ever touch your phone. You speak out loud to your guides. You set energetic boundaries before physical ones. You use your voice not to defend yourself, but to declare your reality. You clean your space like a priest tending to a temple. You pray not as a plea, but as a partnership. You stop asking the world to understand you, and instead you understand yourself so deeply that no misunderstanding can penetrate your peace. And then you get tested again, because power without pressure is fantasy. The universe will send provocations, people who trigger your wounds, situations that mirror your old self. Not to punish you, but to see if you've truly integrated the black flame or just intellectualized it. This is where embodiment becomes everything. You must become the vibration of your truth, not just speak it. You must walk like a portal. You must move like a code. You must make decisions like someone who no longer waits for permission. You stop negotiating with your power. You stop explaining your evolution. You stop seeking softness to make others feel safe. You understand that your presence is not for comfort, it's for correction. Not because you're better, but because you're aligned. And alignment is disruptive in a world built on distortion. But here's the most dangerous part. When the portal opens and the power rises, the ego wants to hijack it. It wants to make it about you, about your identity, your image, your superiority. And if you let it, you'll become a caricature of your own awakening. That's why humility is the final anchor. A not performative humility, sacred humility. The kind that knows, I am powerful, yes, but I am also a servant. I serve truth. I serve frequency. I serve the collective evolution. So let me ask you something sharp. Are you willing to hold your power without needing to be seen? Without needing to be praised? Without needing to be understood? Because that's what purity looks like. That's what mastery requires. You don't wield the black flame for clout. You carry it because you must. Because your soul signed a contract before this life to walk into density and become the light inside it. Not to escape the matrix, but to recode it from within. And here's the wildest part. The more you embody it, the more you realize something strange. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to fracture the illusion. You were meant to walk through systems that others bow to and speak words that collapse them. You were meant to walk into rooms that feel cold and ignite fire. You were meant to walk into conversations filled with lies and make truth uncomfortable again. This is your medicine, not comfort. Disruption, not peacekeeping. Pattern breaking. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be a frequency that cannot be ignored. And if you've made it this far, you already know your portal didn't open by accident. It opened because the earth is calling her architects, her warriors, her code carriers, her disruptors of stagnation. And you answered, not with words, but with your willingness to burn. The living glyph, becoming a walking code of power in a world built on illusion. If you're still here, you already know. This isn't just a video. This has been a transmission, one that bypasses the mind and speaks directly to your cells, your bones, your memory. Because once your portal opens, you don't just change, you transmit. You become a glyph, a living code etched into the quantum fabric of this world. Not a symbol you wear, not an idea you speak, but a frequency you carry. A vibration that can't be faked, bought, or borrowed. It must be earned in silence, in fire, in the arena of the soul. So now the question is no longer, am I chosen? The question is, how do I live as one? You become the glyph by becoming uncompromisingly real. That's what scares the system more than anything. Not rebellion, authenticity. Because when you are real fully, fiercely, unapologetically, you become immune to control. You stop playing characters. You stop diluting your voice. You stop contorting your truth so others can stay comfortable in their illusion. You speak only when it's sacred. You move only when it's coded. And you rest, not out of weakness, but because your energy is expensive and you no longer give discounts. This is how the dark chosen ones walk, with precision, with clarity, with silence that speaks louder than sermons. You don't convince, you radiate, you don't chase, you pull, you don't react. You reveal. And because of that, you will be both celebrated and attacked. You will be magnetized and misunderstood. People will project their unhealed into your reflection. And that is part of the path. Because when you walk as a glyph, you trigger the glyphs in others. You activate their dormant codes. And not everyone wants to wake up. So how do you protect your power? You become ruthless about your energy hygiene. You clear your space as if heaven is watching. You curate your circle not by status, but by vibration. You don't hold on to people out of guilt. You don't betray your nervous system in the name of love. You understand that your energy is a weapon of light, and not everyone deserves access to it. You choose resonance over history, truth over loyalty, evolution over attachment, because your destiny is not to babysit old versions of yourself. You also learn to read patterns, not personalities. You no longer fall for charm. You listen for resonance. You don't trust words. You trust energy. You don't need to catch people in lies your field exposes them. You don't need to punish people, you simply remove your access. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be clear. Because clarity is what collapses manipulation. And clarity is what the dark chosen ones embody like no one else. So let me ask you something cutting. Where are you still performing? Still apologizing? Still dimming your frequency so others feel safe in their slumber? That's the final place your portal is asking you to illuminate. Because if you're still pretending just a little, you're still leaking power. And this path requires total coherence. Alignment between your words, your actions, your thoughts, your vibration. No gaps, no distortion, no compromise. And once you reach that level of coherence, something shifts. You stop trying to be spiritual. You stop seeking healing. You stop asking for signs, because you become the sign. You become the presence that shifts timelines, the voice that speaks frequencies, the body that channels codes. And people will feel it. They won't know why, but they'll soften around you, or they'll run, or they'll rage. Not because of you, but because of what you mirror. That's your role now. Mirror, portal, glyph. You are not here to save the world. You are here to remind it of its power, not through lectures, but through presence, through how you walk, how you breathe, how you say no with love, how you say yes without fear, how you hold boundaries like a priest holds sacred ground, how you grieve without collapsing, how you love without losing yourself, how you create without needing applause. You become the glyph by making your life a living altar. Not perfect, consecrated. Every choice becomes a spell. Every step becomes a sermon. Every breath becomes a broadcast. You understand that the dark chosen ones don't preach. They embody. They don't need titles. Their frequency is the message. And yes, it gets lonely. But that loneliness is sacred. It's not a void, it's a womb. A chrysalis, a protected space where your codes mature, where your power sharpens, where your truth crystallizes. And when it's time, you emerge not as a seeker, but as a signal. Not as a healer, but as a frequency upgrade. Not as a teacher, but as a living transmission of what the world forgot. So what now? Now you build. Now you speak. Now you create systems that carry your code. Now you show others what it looks like to live in truth without fear, and to walk in power without performance, to love without control, to rise without apology. You are the glyph. You are the code. You are the breath the world has been holding, waiting to exhale. You are not here to escape this world. You are here to become the vibration that rewrites it. So ask yourself this, and ask it like your life depends on it, because it does. If I were no longer afraid of being misunderstood, how would I move? How would I speak? What would I create? Who would I become? That's your next level. That's your next transmission. That's your real life. And as you walk forward now, Know this, the portal didn't open to make you special. It opened because you were ready. Ready to carry a frequency this world hasn't felt in centuries. Ready to live as a blueprint for what comes after the collapse. So go, not to seek, but to become. The dark chosen ones don't need a spotlight. They are the light in the dark. And you're not just chosen, you're activated.